A well-respected couple from a southern Connecticut town seemed to vanish into thin air one day. As local police get involved, investigators develop a hunch about a local woman whose stories just don't seem to be lining up with the facts. Within a few weeks, a family's deepest, darkest secrets are exposed as law enforcement utilizes the most basic investigative tactics available, and the truth becomes almost too hard to believe within this small, elite farming community. My name is M. William Phelps. I'm an investigative journalist and the true crime author of close to 50 books. I've dedicated the past 20 years of my life to helping families of the missing and murdered. Join me. We're crossing the line. Easton is in the southern part of Connecticut, down along the I-95 corridor between routes 6 and 7 in Fairfield County, heading toward a rather wealthy section of the state. Fairfield, Westport, Darien, New Canaan, with Stamford and Greenwich a bit further south. Easton maintains a small population of about 8,000 people. It is a gorgeous part of Connecticut, with 20 working farms and 1/3 of the town's land preserved. Easton schools consistently win national awards. It's the kind of place where most of us would be left with our jaws on the floor if we ever found out how much property taxes are. Late summer in Connecticut is generally a soupy mixture of the muggiest weather of the year, hottest temperatures, and days of overcast skies, reminding everyone that the warm weather is ending soon. Get ready for the grind of fall and another year scratched off the calendar. It's August 7th, 2015, when a duty officer behind the glass inside the Easton Police Department looks up to see a woman walking into the station. She's in a bit of a hurry, rushing up to the window. She seems nervous and anxious. Jeffrey and Jeanette Navin are missing, she says. That name is well known in town. J&J Refuse Company is owned by Jeffrey Navin and his brother William. The company mainly does trash removal and recycling collection in Westport. Although a larger company at one time, recently they have downsized and have only 2 trucks on the road, both of which are driven by Jeffrey and his son Kyle. Jeffrey has not been in work for 2 straight days, the woman explains. She is obviously concerned about this. What it means is that Jeffrey's trash route has not been covered because he had not made prior arrangements for someone to take it over while he is gone. And Jeffrey would never ever do that. Family and friends have been calling Jeffrey and Jeanette over the past 2 days and have not gotten hold of either of them, the woman says. Jeffrey and Jeanette's phones have been turned off. Who in the hell turns off their phone for 3 days? I spoke to their son, she tells a detective who sits down with her. The boy's name is Kyle Navin. He says the last time he saw his parents was on the morning of Tuesday, August 4th. According to Kyle, his parents had approached him that morning at J&J before the workday began. They invited him over for dinner that evening. Kyle said he couldn't make it because he was in so much pain from a recurring back injury. He needed to go home and rest. Easton police assure the woman who walked into the police station on that morning she reports them missing, but they will look into it immediately. And so a missing person investigation is opened. The last person to see the Navins is their son, Kyle. So Easton police reach out to Kyle and ask him to come in so they can get a detailed picture of that last interaction. On August 9th, 2015, Kyle sits down with a few Easton investigators to go through everything he knows. Kyle reiterates that he saw his parents on August 4th while he was at work, but also spoke to them by phone and text during the early morning and early afternoon hours of that same day, mainly about work-related issues. He says it was somewhere around noon when he spoke to his father that last time. Any idea where they might be, investigators want to know. They often go away on short trips, but then again, my father never misses work without making arrangements for his route to be covered, Kyle says. After giving them a few more details about the day, Kyle says he doesn't really have much more. They tell him thanks, they'll be in touch soon. Kyle leaves. Over the next 2 days, Easton police search for the Navins and cannot find any sign of the popular couple anywhere. They get inside the Navins' house in Easton, and it appears nothing has been disturbed. Nothing is missing, nothing is broken. Everything feels fairly copacetic. So investigators go back to Kyle and ask him a few more questions. Namely, has he heard from them? And does he recall any other information? The smallest detail can make a difference. Kyle says he thought about things more. He remembers meeting his mother along his route on the morning of August 4th in Westport, just off the highway. There's a park and ride there, and his mom got into Kyle's truck and went along with him for the remainder of the route. This was when, he adds, his back really began to bother him. So he called his father and explained what was going on. They exchange a few texts back and forth about work-related issues and covering Kyle's route. His dad tells Kyle to meet him at a nearby garden nursery close to the freeway, where Kyle can abandon his route and Jeffrey will get someone to cover for him, so Kyle can get home and rest his back. They meet somewhere around 10:30. Kyle's mom, Jeanette Navin, hops out of Kyle's truck and into his dad's truck. They then follow Kyle to his Bridgeport, Connecticut home. His dad and mom leave shortly after arriving. Near 12:30, Kyle says he drove over to his parents' house to pick up his paycheck, which his father had left taped to the door of their home in Easton. Then Kyle says, I drove back home. His back hurt so badly that he plopped himself into bed and just stayed there for the next 3 days. My girlfriend, he adds, takes care of me when my back is acting up. It's right after that when he stops hearing from both of his parents. 56-year-old Jeffrey Navin and his 55-year-old wife Jeanette have a solid reputation in Easton for being a kind, generous, and caring couple. They are deeply ingrained in the community. Friends and family say they are your typical American husband and wife, still very much in love and very much looking forward to retiring soon so they can enjoy life. Jeanette works at the refuse company, but also as a library aide. They don't seem to have any financial issues. They raise 2 boys, Kyle and Taylor. The house in Bridgeport Kyle lives in with his girlfriend, Jennifer Vellante, was purchased by his parents, a gift to the boy. Kyle's brother is pursuing his passion for golf and is not involved in the family business. Within a few days after they are reported missing, the Easton police find the Navins' vehicle parked in a commuter lot in Westport along the highway. One window is broken. It doesn't appear that anything is missing, especially the catalytic converter, a hot item of late, thieves' target. The scene has a strange feel to it, as if perhaps it has been staged to look like the Navins were ambushed or kidnapped, or they abandoned their vehicle and took off. After recovering the Navins' car, officers conduct a search in the immediate area to see if they can find any evidence the couple might have parked the vehicle and taken off or been kidnapped. A kidnapping scenario cannot be excluded yet, considering the Navins' public status in the region and the expected wealth they have. Inside an abandoned house near the commuter lot, officers locate several J&J Refuse Company business cards along with other items police believe were taken from the Navins' vehicle. This presents itself as a strange finding. With this new evidence, Easton investigators decide to make a public plea, so they gather the press, update them on the case, and ask for help. Does anybody know anything? From there, they dig into the Navins' bank accounts and credit cards to see what kind of activity there has been. The one detail they find immediately is that the Navins were going to sell the business in the coming year. They had also just sold a property they own. From there, they dig into the Navins' bank accounts and credit cards to see what kind of activity there has been. The one detail they find immediately is that the Navins were going to sell the business in the coming year. So it's clear from that information they were assembling their assets and liquidating a lot of it into cash. The question then becomes, why? Simply because they wanted to retire? Or is there something else going on here? Everybody has secrets. Investigators know this. When the bank records come back, it becomes likely the Navins did not cash out and take off, which has to be a possibility if you're an investigator. People do strange things. Law enforcement know this. Adults who go missing generally want to go missing. Yet, within the bank records, important facts help investigators focus on the theory that someone is definitely behind the couple's sudden disappearance. Because since August 4th, the last day anyone has seen or heard from them, there has been no activity on any of the Navins' bank accounts, including their credit cards. We all know that's a bad sign. Asking around, investigators learned something else. That Kyle's girlfriend, 31-year-old Jennifer Valente, lied to them when they interviewed her after speaking with Kyle that second time. She told police she was at home all day on August 4th. They now know for certain that is untrue after video surveillance surfaces showing Jennifer driving her vehicle close to where the Navins live in Easton in the direction of their home. What is going on there? Please subscribe to Crossing the Line wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to leave a review of the show, especially on Apple Podcasts. I'm doing this show independently now, free from any corporate or big podcasting media company involvement, which allows me to bring you more of the content you want to hear and have asked me for. This is completely our show. Reviews and subscriptions really help. You are my public relations and social media team now, and without your help, I could not do this. And that support, I must tell you, means everything. It's incredibly humbling. And I want to thank each one of you for listening. We can grow this show together, which will allow me to do even bigger things with it. Remember, you can find new episodes dropping every Wednesday night. If you go to crossingtheline.biz or mwilliamphelps.com, you can contact me there to suggest cases or just say hello. And look for me across all social media platforms at M. William Phelps. That's the @ symbol in my name, M. William Phelps. Let's take a break here, come back, and get into what happens next. At 31 years old, Jennifer Valente is 4 years older than her boyfriend, Kyle Navin. Jennifer has dark brown hair flowing down past her shoulders, these thin, checkmark eyebrows, dark, deep-set eyes, and pale skin. She appears to investigators as kind of gaunt, somewhat sketchy. There's something about her not sitting right with police. The more Easton police look at Jennifer and speak to close friends and family, a picture of a woman who is controlling, devious, and bullish emerges. Someone who makes demands and doesn't rest until she gets what she wants. The other obvious observation is, why would she lie? Her boyfriend's parents have been missing for about a week now. Why lie about anything? Unless you have things to hide. There is also word that Jennifer is quite pissed off that Kyle's parents had been selling the business instead of handing it off to Kyle. Easton investigators, they were kind of asking themselves the same damn question. Why would Kyle's parents not give him the business? Has to be a reason. Why wouldn't Kyle's parents sell him the business? There has to be a reason. Talking to relatives, investigators learned that the Navins have their reasons for selling to an outside source. The Navins view Kyle as irresponsible, mainly because of an addiction to hardcore drugs. Hence, the recurring back injury. That's in quotes, by the way. When I say hardcore drugs, I mean heroin, oxy. Knowing that they have Jennifer on video driving toward the Navins' house, they ask her to come back in for a follow-up interview. Jennifer sits down with a loud thud and a deep breath, like, why am I even here? How dare you people? Quote, we know you weren't home all day on August 4th, an investigator comes right out with. Kyle asked me to follow him, she says. That is now new information, and it does not align with what Kyle has been telling police. In the video, you can see Kyle in his truck driving up the road his parents live on, and there is Jennifer following right behind. 29 minutes later, Jennifer's car is seen driving in the opposite direction, and Kyle is with her. So it appears that she follows Kyle to the Navin house. He drops off the truck, picks up his check, and Jennifer drives him home. What's the big deal? So they got a few details mixed up. What does this have to do with Kyle's missing parents? The problem law enforcement have is that Jeanette Navin was at home when Kyle went over there that day. They know this from text messages they'd recently gotten their hands on. And I'll just add here, if we all think we're deleting texts when we hit that little trash can button on our phones, that is not the case. Those texts can be resurrected and retrieved by computer forensics anytime they want. And Easton police now have a stack of text messages between Jeffrey Navin and his son Kyle from August 4th, 3 days before the Navins are reported missing. These texts become extremely telling in their context. Remember, Kyle told police he and his dad spoke on the phone that day and texted about work-related issues. But let me read just a few texts, and you'll see that his casual work-related issues comment is complete bullshit. Here's Jeffrey texting his son on August 4th. It's about 12:39 p.m. I'm not coming home till I know mom is okay. Did you hurt mom? Kyle texts back, no, absolutely not. Why would you think? Jeffrey to Kyle, I go home and I get framed for murder. Jeffrey to Kyle, I'm going to the police first. Kyle to his dad, okay, and reason being? Jeffrey to Kyle, you are setting me up. Dad, really, what are you talking about? Why in the hell would Kyle's father even think to ask, did you hurt mom? And why ring the murder bell? Where is that coming from? Had Kyle threatened to murder his mother? It's not coming from nowhere. Kyle Navin had definitely threatened his parents' lives, and his father was scared he was going to follow through. Not only that, but his father was scared that Kyle had murdered his mother and was setting up the dad for the murder. For Easton police, it's clear Kyle and his babe are lying, telling big, fat, terrible fibs, all while Kyle's parents are missing. After receiving these text messages and going carefully through a timeline of Kyle's cellular tower timestamps, proving that more of what he had said is nothing but bullshit lies, Easton police work with Bridgeport police to obtain and execute a search warrant on Kyle's house in Bridgeport, where he lives with Jennifer, his lovely sweetheart. Within a few moments of searching Kyle's bedroom, they recover several guns and, let me tell you, loads and loads of ammunition. I mean, like serious guns. One with a laser sight, 1 round in the chamber, 2 additional magazines nearby. Yet, that is not the only major find of the day. In a drawer, investigators pull out a receipt from Home Depot. Kyle, his girlfriend, or both, purchased germicidal bleach, a hair and grease drain opener, stain remover called Goo Gone, and contractor cleanup bags. That's a wide-eyed emoji there, true crimers. It all adds up, investigators know damn well, to the disposal of human remains and cleanup after a double murder. You don't have to be fucking Columbo to figure that out. What's more, during an additional search a few days later, they recover 15 hypodermic needles, dozens of glassine bags with heroin inside, 24 empty oxy prescription bottles, and a host of additional prescription bottles for Xanax and other controlled substances, along with more firearms. Whew. All those drugs, all those guns, nothing good is ever going to happen with that. It still fascinates me why people who commit murders do such a terrible job of covering up existing evidence, by which I mean all of the tools they use to carry out a murder. I have said many times, most murderers plan everything up until the point of pulling the trigger and very little afterward. I mean, is this dude that freaking stupid? He knows he's a junkie. He gets that his life is totally out of control and shit. How a junkie could think he could get away with murdering both of his parents, we could argue, is part of his addiction. That evil drug whispering in his ear, telling him he will get away with it. The lies the dragon tells us is what they'd say in recovery. I know this because I have been sober for 30 years, alcohol being my monster. But I have to say, are you that high that you cannot throw out a receipt from Home Depot and get rid of all your weapons? With all of this new information and evidence, Easton police bring in Jennifer, sit her down, point a finger at her, and tell her, in likely different words, I'll say, listen, you're fucked unless you tell us something of significance immediately. I'll get to that interview when we come back after a short break. Jennifer Valente confirms that the guns are Kyle's. She also is forced to confirm that Kyle is using dope after they present a litany of texts between the two of them outlining Kyle's use of heroin and purchasing it and storing it, even down to the amount he is using every single day. Those texts implicate Jennifer in helping him obtain drugs and use drugs. She acts as his keeper. That is so damn clear. Jennifer refuses to implicate herself or Kyle in the Navin's murders. She seems to have selective memory to most of any question about the Navins or Kyle, and that day they went missing. I don't recall. I can't remember. We've all heard that bullshit before. Faced with having no forensic evidence or bodies as of yet to charge Kyle with murder, they go after him for weapons possession and drug charges. They get him in and ask him if he killed his parents. With no emotion whatsoever, Kyle says simply, no, and not much more than that. It takes time to do a complete forensic analysis of evidence, despite what true crime documentaries and crime dramas portray. In the real world of police work, labs are backed up with cases and evidence sits, awaiting a scientist to take a look at it. These things take time, months, sometimes years. 3 months go by without much of anything happening. But on October 29th, 2015, after talking to a few new sources, investigators are directed to a home in Weston, Connecticut, not far from Easton. No one lives in the house. They begin searching the backyard. Soon, they find 2 bodies buried in shallow graves. The Navins, each of whom has been murdered by gunshot. They then get hits on a bit of DNA found inside Kyle's work truck. There are also 2 bullet holes in the passenger seat of the same truck. The bullets that killed the Navins and a weapon found in Kyle's home come back a match. Then several texts between Kyle and Jennifer emerge, in which they discuss the possibility of getting rid of his parents, with Jennifer pressuring Kyle into carrying through with what appears is an idea to kill them he had come up with. All because the Navins refused to hand their company over to a junkie and decided to sell it to an outsider. This son of a bitch and his sketchball girlfriend killed 2 beautiful people, his parents, for crying out loud, because Jeanette and Jeffrey Navin did not want a drug addict destroying a business they had worked all their lives building. Kyle and Jennifer are then arrested. In 2017, after a long period of discernment, Jennifer makes a smart decision. She pleads guilty. She is sentenced to 8 years for conspiracy to commit murder and hindering prosecution. She helped plan the murders and then cover them up. Kyle's trial is set for April 17th, 2016, and the day before it is going to begin, he decides to plead guilty, understanding that there is now a mountain of evidence against him, and he has no chance whatsoever. During that sentencing, the judge refers to Kyle, the man who carried out the murders, as black-hearted. Great description. Kyle is sentenced to 55 years. I have to say this, finally. Was there no other answer in this loser's life besides killing the 2 people who gave him life and raised him? Why couldn't he just rob them, take their money? And I am not going to buy Kyle hiding behind his drug addiction. No. Although his mind was definitely corrupted by the drugs, he knew damn well what he was doing and the consequences involved. Just a sad, sad case. Murders, once again, that did not have to happen. Remember, I need your help. Please subscribe to Crossing the Line wherever you get your podcast. And don't forget, leave a review of the show, especially on Apple Podcasts, and set your schedule. You can find new episodes dropping every Wednesday night and log on to crossingtheline.biz or mwilliamphelps.com to contact me and suggest cases or just say hi. And look for me across all social media platforms using the @ symbol and my name, M. William Phelps. Thank you for supporting this show. I am allowed to do it because of you, and that truly means more to me than I can say. Be safe. Be aware. Sources that helped with this episode are police. Woman convicted of helping boyfriend kill his parents faces new charge. December 21st, 2023, Westport Journal. United States versus Kyle Navin, FBI affidavit, arrest warrant. CTL is produced by M. William Phelps, LLC, written and executive produced by me, M. William Phelps. Audio mastering and mixing by Matt Russell. Original music written and performed by Thomas Mooney, Tom Phelps, and Matt Russell.